Morning folks, thanks for checking in again. I'm in Elterwater today. It's kind of, I'm too late, I've already messed up. So yeah, I'm going in for a top tip with this video. You know, less than 30 seconds in and we're going to go for a top tip. Gotta get up earlier, right? I mean, I only live 20 minutes from here and I got up at 4:45. I thought, yeah, no problem, bit of breakfast, brew, smash it down to Elterwater, get some kind of first light over the river and the lake there. And yeah, basically it's probably about 10 to 6 now, which is when sunrise is due. And yeah, I'm not in location, I'm sort of walking to it really along the river. Yeah, too late, so just didn't give myself enough time really. I mean, saying that, looking around, there isn't that much evidence of amazing light coming through, so maybe it's not too much of an issue. But hey, it is what it is. The whole point of these videos was to take you on a little journey as I kind of maybe learn a few things about this landscape photography lark, and hopefully you guys get to learn stuff too. And you know, maybe that's happening, eh? Maybe that's happening. So we're just going to have a little walk along here. There are some classic shots from around here, as you probably know. The light isn't that exciting yet, but we're just going to go and see what we can find. Like I say, good to be out with the camera, right? So I've got what might be my first kind of little composition, and you know, the light's just not happening yet, but there's still time. And I'm thinking of something sort of a little bit minimalistic, which I'm not very good at, right? But it's all good practice. So thinking of something a bit minimalistic involving these reeds here, and against the sort of black or darker colours of the river. I might even just go for kind of something, just fill in the frame. You know, maybe a square crop or something, just focusing literally and not literally on those reeds. So I've got this shot here that I'm really not that bothered with, if I'm totally honest, but I just want to get something in. I've got this little kind of inlet going on. I'm going to use that to kind of lead the eye in, hopefully, into these reeds, and then it's going to be a portrait shot with the trees in the background. Could really do with some nicer light, and there is a little bit of the sky. It's not super exciting. I mean, I'm moaning, but it's a really nice morning. I've got geese on cue, and I've got a woodpecker in the background somewhere. So, I mean, just fantastic to be out, right? Let's get this shot in. Let's see what we're set up at. So, I'm going to go for f11. Come on, camera. And we're going to focus stack it because this is super close. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. So I'm using the touchscreen on the back, and I've got it set to basically focus where I touch and then take a shot. Okay, and I've got my delay timer set up. It has an electronic delay on this Nikon Z7 II that's about 2 seconds, so it's kind of like a timer. Similar sort of idea basically. So it just means that when I hit the back of the screen, by the time the shutter's actually released, there's no vibration in the actual camera, and therefore the shot. So I'm going to focus in the foreground, like just here on the little inlet. I'm going to focus somewhere in one of those tussocks just by the reeds, and I'll probably focus on you know, the fence on the other side of the river as well. I might even focus on the trees and do 4 shots, and then what we can do is just stack those in Photoshop later on. It's super easy to do, and we should have some front to back sharpness. Let's get the shot and then we can chat more later. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you quickly how to deal with the focus stack in Lightroom Classic and Photoshop. So I've got my 4 shots here, okay, so first one was focused in the foreground, the second one a little bit further in, the third one somewhere on the fence line, and the fourth one on the trees in the background. What I want to do is blend those together into one image, so I benefit from the increased depth of field of being able to focus in lots of different places. Okay, so I've done my edit on my first image. Okay, so this is my edit. I know it's not an amazing shot, but it will totally do for this demo. And the observant amongst you are going to notice that this was taken at ISO 4000 which wasn't intended. I planned to take it ISO 64, but I had the wrong settings dialed in on the camera. But it is what it is. We all make mistakes, and it'll do for this demo anyway. Okay, so I've edited this first image, and what I now want to do is copy those edits onto these other images so they're all the same. So what I'm going to do is right click the first image, go down to develop settings and copy those settings. I'm then going to make sure that I've selected everything that I want to copy. And for me with this image, I want to copy literally everything, including the crop and any masking. Okay, I may not want to do that. It just depends on what you've got going on, but I want to copy everything. So I'm going to hit copy. Then I'm going to select the other images, which is a mouse click, and on my Mac it's hold down shift and select the other couple of images. If I then right click, go down to develop settings and hit paste, it's going to paste those edits onto the other images so they all look the same. All right, next thing I need to do is use Photoshop to blend them. So basically I'm going to select all 4 images, all right, and then I'm going to go into photo, edit in, and I don't want edit in Photoshop, I want open as layers in Photoshop. All right, so select that, and then depending on how quick your machine is and the size of the files and stuff like that, it'll pop open Photoshop, and you should see in the bottom right hand corner the 4 separate images are opening as 4 separate layers. Okay, so that's 3, and here comes the 4th. Okay, so we've got our 4 layers. Next thing to do is to select those 4 layers. So the first one's already selected, and I just click the bottom one while holding down shift, and that's got all those 4 layers selected. And then if I go to edit, auto align layers, it'll do exactly what it says on the tin. I want to just make sure that auto is selected here. Okay, so we'll select that, and again, depending on how quick your machine is, it'll auto align the layers. Now, because they're all taken on a tripod, they should all be, you know, pretty much identical in terms of their position. So you're not going to see a lot of difference here, but if you'd handheld them, then Photoshop would do some clever stuff and potentially or hopefully get those as aligned as well as it can. Next thing to do is go back into edit again, just making sure I've still got those layers selected in that bottom right hand corner, and go down to auto blend layers, and that'll do what it says on the tin. You want to have stack images selected. Okay, and I like to have this content aware fill of transparent areas selected as well, and that basically just means if they are just slightly off with their alignment because maybe the tripod moved or maybe it was handheld, it will do its best to kind of fill any areas where there isn't any data essentially. So we're going to OK that, and with a bit of luck that should happen fairly quickly depending on the speed of your machine and all that jazz. Okay, cool. So that's basically done. And next thing that I want to do, right, is just save this. So if I just come out of it by hitting close, I'm going to get this dialog to save it, hit save, and what should basically happen is Lightroom should open with the saved image as a TIFF. So you should end up with another image, which in my case will be a TIFF file because that's how I've got Photoshop set up. So we'll just wait for that to happen. Okay, so back in Lightroom now, we've got this 5th image, and depending on your sort order, it's for me at the start of this little row. And if you look down here, it's going to tell you the file name, and you can see that it's got TIFF appended to that file name. So this image is going to be an accumulation basically of those 4. So sometimes you have those days of photography, right, when you're just clutching at straws and nothing seems to go right. Today definitely feels like one of those days, you know. Keep screwing up the camera settings. Look, the tripod is even, the legs on the tripod are like all collapsing underneath me. Well, I've kind of drawn to this shot. It's over here. And what I've basically got is these reeds in the foreground. I'm kind of going to zoom in quite far, probably like almost to the full extent of this 24-120 lens. Could always crop a bit as well. And I'm going to go quite low, which is why I'm dropping this tripod, right? We've got some really nice light on the Langdale Pikes there in the background as well. The other thing I'm curious about, because we have got some movement from a little bit of wind in the water, is to put an ND filter on and really kind of smooth it out. We would get a little bit of movement in these reeds and the ducks, but kind of might be all right. You know, movement from the reeds is probably not a bad thing, because at the end of the day it's just wind. Let's try and make sure we're actually on the right settings. Let's see what it does with a 64 on. Let's see what a 64 does for that exposure. Looking at 8 seconds, f11. I think that's kind of cool. Got a bit nicer light. Just check that focus. 8 seconds at f11, Boshty. Uh-oh, geese incoming on the left. Hopefully not within this 8 seconds. There we go. Let's have a look what that looked like. Yeah, it has smoothed out the water quite nicely, that, to be fair. So yeah, a challenging morning of photography, to be honest. You know, I just wasn't really that psyched, you know, I'll admit it. I'm not going to pretend that I kind of go out and I'm just always, oh yeah, my God, it's amazing. Sometimes it's just not. You know, I felt like I was a little bit late getting up and I missed the light, although that didn't really come to the extent that you would kind of want it to anyway. But yeah, I didn't have a plan, and I think that's one of the things that I sort of rarely kind of sort out. I never really seem to have any sort of plan of what I'm going to photograph. And I think that's okay to kind of go out and be a bit like, you know, fly by the seat of your pants and just get stuff done. But when you're kind of up against it and you haven't really got that much psych, then, you know, having no plan means that you sort of walk around going, oh, don't really know what to do here. And you know, I sort of pulled off a couple of shots early on, and they weren't that amazing in the great scheme of things. And I kept screwing up my camera settings. You know, everything was getting covered in mud. I kept dropping stuff. Tripod fell over. It's just one of those mornings when the universe seems to be kind of against you, right? We've all had them. I think the thing is as well, right, as photographers, you know, we put ourselves under pressure. You know, we think, oh, we have to go out and get this amazing shot every time, otherwise we're not succeeding. And you know, but in reality, if we all sat around a table in a pub and chatted about this, we'd all go, no, that's a load of rubbish. It's about just being out, and who cares? You know, it's nice to get a good shot, but it's the experience and the process that's more important. But still inside, we still kind of want to get that shot for our own sort of self-approval, I guess, even though we pretend that we don't. And I think that was going on a little bit for me today, to be honest. And particularly when you're making these videos, right? You sort of feel like, A, you've got to make content, and B, when you make content, it's got to be good. Otherwise, people won't watch it. And people don't watch it anyway, but so there's that kind of added pressure. Anyway, I'm kind of moaning. I did get a couple of nice shots, I think. We'll have to see what they're like when we get back to the office, so to speak. Geese everywhere today. Yeah, so I'm out and about. I could be in bed. Got some photography done. Maybe made a little bit of a film, so it's kind of all a win, really, isn't it? So anyway, if you enjoyed even 1 second of this video, do us a big favour, hit the like button, yeah, and yeah, hit the subscribe button. I mean, this is supposed to be me kind of sharing my kind of learning process and the sort of little adventures that I get on with this photography journey. And yeah, if I sort of know that people are kind of enjoying it, then I'll do more stuff. So it'd be massively appreciated if you just kind of hit that button. That'd be so cool. just to kind of yeah, get some self-approval, I suppose. Back to that old nonsense again. Anyway, I'm going to check out for now. I'll see you next time.